What's up guys, I'm J-Rod of BATTLEBrawlerproductions, and today we are finally taking a look at the Pilot Sky Blue LED as I try to figure out what is the best LED to pencil with in the next series of videos. Before we get into the LED review proper, I do want to thank you all so much for watching my experimental series on LED. I really enjoyed it. It was a very nice, very fun change of pace. Normally we do just big ink reviews, big art pieces, we do huge things with ink, but here we're doing something with LED, and I thought that was really cool. You know, years ago I did a review on the Prismacolor Cool Erase. I just discovered it at the time, and I fell in love with pencil and just wanted to talk about it. And then I just kind of sat down and figured, you know, what are some other LEDs that would be really good for inking? So we took a look at the Pentel Blue LED, and then the Pentel Red LED. Now we're finally taking a look at the Pilot Soft Blue Color LED. This goes by a few names. I've heard it called Neox, I've heard it called Eno, I've heard it called a few different things, but this to me has always been the Pilot Soft Blue Colored LED. This, honestly, and not to spoil what's gonna happen so far, there is a reason I did save this one for last though. Now please stay tuned for the end of the video because we will kind of go over the ranking of each of these, just kind of doing a full recap of everything. But this right here is a really nice LED. First off, you can see it has a very different design than normal Pilot LEDs, kind of your standard LED container. What I like about this one is it has a little hatch and then has a little opening there that you can just shake the LED out like a toothpick and one or two pieces will come out. I actually really like that design. I think it's a very nice sturdy feeling plastic. Something I didn't really go into depth with the other LEDs, and that's just because these are more standard, more what you kind of expect. So I do like this one changing up. I really do like the fact you can hold a lot of LED as you can see through here. Now this does sell for $6.30 on Amazon, and you don't get just one of these, you actually get 3 of these. So that's pretty interesting. Each one holds 10, so you get 30 LED in total, which I think is a pretty good deal. Now let's go ahead and break out our sketchbook to do a quick little swatch test of this. So putting the LED down, something that I really like about this LED is it feels really smooth. It goes down super well. It is a little more on the fragile side. It does break, so I'm trying to be a little more careful on that front. I don't want to be breaking it too much, so it's just as brittle as the other LEDs. And you could see that because it's a softer LED, you're really able to get to a sharper point very easily, which I really like. But one thing that's cool is you could see the subtlety in it. This LED can be really soft and light, or you can actually layer it down really hard, so you can get a really soft subtle line or a really bold line that you can really build up. And I really like that. It's something that the other LEDs just kind of struggled with, especially the Pentel Blue LED, because the blue was so intense there really wasn't a good way to actually like layer it down. But here there really is something that you can just kind of build up. You don't have to worry about it staining the paper. And let's see how it erases. I'm gonna be honest, I think it erases pretty well. Now on camera, just because of all the lighting, is a little bit more light on camera. In person, this definitely is a little more noticeable, but the erasing quality is really good. It actually erases really well. So I'm very happy about that because the other LEDs had a little bit of trouble with erasing. Mostly that Pentel Blue LED was really bad at it. I think that the red did a bit of a better job because it wasn't that much of an intense color. So there we go. You can see right there it erases pretty well. Now one thing I am curious is how well this is actually going to take ink. So let's go ahead and just put a bit down and we'll see how that works. Alright, now that we filled in the space, let's go ahead and do our little ink test. So I have right here just a Pentel. This is a really nice little pocket brush, and the ink, again, we're having a little bit of trouble sticking. Actually, there we go. Now it's really, guess it took the pen a minute to get that good flow, so yeah. I'm actually pretty happy with that. Now I want to see how a Fineliner reacts to this because that's going to be another big thing. And I know the dip pen will work well. Dip pen works on pretty much every LED we've tested. So there we go. See the Fineliner doing really good. It's actually taking the Fineliner really well. It's taking it better than the actual brush, but I think the brush just needs a little bit more time to get the flow right on that. So that right there is a win. And now I think we should just go ahead and quickly do our big test. And I do have something really fun to draw. So I figured that in the last 3 videos, both the 2 Pentel ones that came out before this one and the Prismacolor review that we did a few years ago, that since I drew Wrath, I thought, why don't I draw his main villain, Pride? And this was a drawing I specifically did for this video. I love how it came out. Now I did do a lot of the sketching, gesturing, and just kind of placement with the actual Prismacolor LED. I'm going to be solidifying it and making it ready for inking with our actual Pentel Blue LED, and then I'm going to ink this and color it just like we did with our actual drawings beforehand. beforehand. Now, instead of going in with my normal favorite ink, which is of course the Winsor & Newton Black India ink, I'm going to go with Zig's Cartoonist. That is a Sumi ink. It's ceramic based instead of the normal Indian based pigments that are in here. So that ink is going to be fully alcohol marker proof, because we are also going to color this piece, which I think will be really fun. Now, just a reminder, or for those of you who are new to the channel, I do have a stack of drawings that I will just randomly start drawing and penciling throughout the last few years. It's a pretty big stack, and these characters that I designed have changed and evolved along with my art style. So this is an example of a newer drawing and what the character currently looks like. If you go back and watch some of the older videos, or if you watch some new videos, I may use some old pencils that I did that have the characters not as refined, they look slightly different, and the art may not be up to the same stuff quality that we're doing right now. So I just wanted to remind you guys about that, and this was a piece that I had a lot of fun coming up with, so we're going to go ahead and dive into the penciling right now. So we are done with the penciling. It took about 20-21 minutes. Really enjoyed the whole process. One thing I will say, an observation I made, is that the pilot lead is a lot more fragile than the other lead we have tested. I definitely found that it broke an equal amount to the Pentel lead, but it would actually at times just kind of be smushed. Like, too much pressure will cause it to smush and break. So there's that. This lead just kind of snapped off. This one broke and smushed, so that's very interesting. Now, same thing can be said for the Prismacolor Cool Erase, but something I really like, especially comparing all four of them together, is that this is really good for construction. This is really good for solidifying it. Because it's a soft blue, it's not as intense. You know, on camera, you really don't see how intense it is. In person, definitely a little more. It's a lot more noticeable, but it's not overwhelming. The blue and the red, really overwhelming when you pair it to this one right here, and I thought that was very interesting. So with that said, I really like using this one to solidify this pencil, because I did all my gesturing, my planning, my construction, everything with this pencil, solidifying and getting that solid line, which is difficult to do with this one without applying a lot of force and constantly having to keep it sharp. It was definitely a much easier process with this lead. So now we're going to go ahead and ink it with our Zig's Cartoonist ink. And we're done with the inking, and I absolutely love how this came out. This lead behaved phenomenally. I really liked inking on top of it. I didn't have any problems, and one thing that's really nice is that while we did have that little bit of a layering issue in our test, I chopped that more up to the actual ink flow of the Pentel ink. We didn't have that problem at all here. I did have to go over an area a few times, but that's not the lead's fault. That's actually a product of Zig's Cartoonist ink. As much as I love it, sometimes it doesn't always go the smoothest. You have a little bit of gray, a little bit of white of paper showing through, so there are times where you do have to kind of layer your ink like a paint, and you can create some really cool effects in different tones. Either way, moral of the story is I love how this came out. It behaved really well. While yes, there is a bit of a blue outline to some of the spots because I didn't do it perfectly, it's really subtle, and the actual inking itself really overpowers that. It really is visually distinct and separate from the pencils. I really like that because the Pentel, both red and blue, were a little distracting. Here it's not. Red is definitely an intense color, and the blue of Pentel way too overpowering. So I really like how this one is super subtle and isn't distracting at all. You can barely see it in person, and on camera you can't see it at all. Now, one thing that is worth noting is I definitely still think that the Prismacolor lead is the more subtle of all of them. But because it's so subtle, it's hard to solidify those lines. So I really like how I was able to solidify everything and then ink on top of it. So let's go ahead and do our coloring. Now the colors we're going to be using are purple. I know we did red in the last test, and the red worked really well for the red lead, and the blue lead definitely stuck out a lot more on the Pentel side. I don't think we'll have that problem here. While yes, purple is in the blue family, in fact it's a combination of blue and red, something that I like is, again, it isn't a intense color. It's a soft blue, so it's really going to be overpowered by these colors and not be as visible as other options. Something that I noticed with the blue Pentel lead is that while I was using it and I had drawings with it in my sketchbook, it was super easy to see those sketches and pencils under the coloring. When it was gray, when it was purple, when it was black, when it was red, I always saw a little bit through. But switching to this lead, I don't think we'll have that problem. Because it's a soft blue, it's going to be overpowered far easier, and we're not going to see any of it when it's all said and done. Let's go ahead and jump into that super fun coloring time lapse. And we're done. And guys, I absolutely love how this piece came out. Easily one of my top 10 of the year. This is a piece that I'm super proud of. Ironic during the character's name. The penciling was good, the anatomy's good, the inking's good, the coloring's really good. This is a piece I just absolutely love. And if you guys like it, it is available on our Stage account for a $1 download. It's that first link in the description down below, and it really does help out the channel. But with that said, let's go ahead and put this to the side, as awesome as it is, and talk about the lead itself and how it lived up to everything I expect from it, and why, I'm just gonna say it now, this is my favorite lead to use. Breaking out this chart, I absolutely love how this lead compares to the others. While yes, again, we did take a look at the Prismacolor one quite a few years ago, I still think it's a really good lead and still holds up. The Pentel lead was the main option for me when I was looking for something on the go, something in mechanical pencil, and while it's good, it's just too intense. It's definitely a darker blue that stands out and doesn't layer well. The Pentel red lead is a better option, but it's still a vibrant red, so with other colors, while it is more subtle in inking, it can definitely stick out with coloring. The Pilot lead does what Prismacolor lead does and more, because as much as I love the Prismacolor one, it's just too subtle for me, which is really weird to say, but it's great for construction and gesturing. But when I want to solidify those, I have to constantly sharpen this, and I have to really build up my lines. It's really difficult, especially with intricate small details. This lead, it's not. What I love about it is, yes, it's subtle, but it's not too subtle. It's bold, but not too bold. It's that perfect middle spot, and this is my favorite lead to use. And I use quite a bit of lead. Yeah, we took a look at Prismacolor one and the Pentel leads, but take a look at my lead box. I have quite a bit of lead. I have 2mm leads that I tested. I have 2mm blue leads I tested. In fact, I almost wanted to include the Staedtler blue lead, but it did not compare, and honestly did everything the Pentel blue lead did, so you can just file those two together. But I've used quite a few different leads, as you can see. There's 4B, 4Hs, 6Hs, 2Bs, Bs, all kinds in here, different sizes, and this is the lead I really like to use, and I'm just so blown away. I'm just so impressed by the quality of it. It's one of the best, if not the best lead that I can recommend. I can't really recommend something that's better. There might be something on the market that I just haven't heard of yet, but out of all of the leads to use for your comic art, penciling, and just artwork in general, this is the lead that I heavily recommend. It gets a 10 out of 10 on my scale. I absolutely love it. Easy to erase, subtle, not too subtle, bold, but not too bold. And just to kind of show you something, because someone's definitely going to say in the comments, well, you just did a simple little test. Well, something to keep in mind with these reviews is that I'm limited in time, and I can't really test these products as thoroughly as I like. But with these leads that I've been using, I've kind of cheated, as I have sketchbooks that I've used with them. In fact, this is my most recently completed sketchbook, and the first half of it was using the Pentel blue lead. And you can see the pencils here, you can see them here. They're not as subtle and distracting, and it's really kind of annoying. But halfway through, I eventually switched to the Pilot lead, and the Pilot lead is amazing, super subtle, and I've used a variety of mediums in these tests. Wash, alcohol markers, watercolor, colored pencils, ink, you've named it, I've done it in here, even acrylics, and I'm not a huge acrylic guy. I absolutely love how this lead has performed time and time again, filling pages after pages in my sketchbook, doing a bunch of different mediums, a bunch of different tests, a variety of colors, yellow, blue, reds, greens, purples, oranges, and I absolutely love how this lead layers. I absolutely love how it's subtle, but not too subtle, and that's the best thing about this lead. In fact, a lot of the actual pencils that I'm doing for the channel now, I actually do a combination of Prismacolor and Pilot lead, like this one right here. This is the most recent thing I've sketched for the channel. This is going to be a ink review we'll be seeing soon, and yeah, as you can see, I use Prismacolor and Pilot because they work super well together. Again, I am limited in the amount of time that I can put into these videos, and admittedly, especially with some of my older ones, I am limited in knowledge, but I have grown as an artist, and definitely my knowledge on the subjects have grown and changed, and with my experience, this is the best lead to use. This is the lead that I recommend the most. So if you are an inker, if you're doing comic art, if you're just an artist in general and you're looking for a good lead for your mechanical pencil, get this lead. You are not going to regret it. I think it's a really good price for it. Super high quality. It's able to do everything you need to do, everything I needed to do. So that's why it's one of the few products that gets a 10 out of 10 for me. I love it so much. It is the only lead I have ever put into this pencil right here. This is my favorite mechanical pencil, and it has only taken Pilot blue lead. But that's my opinion, and I'm just a nerd on YouTube who talks way too much about ink and art supplies. I'd love to hear your guys' comments in the comment section down below. Please let me know both about the drawing that I did and the lead. Do you like it? Do you hate it? What are things I could have improved on the drawing? Do you like it? I'd love to hear your guys' feedback, because it really does help me grow as an artist and a content creator. So with all that said, thank you all so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel for more art and animation based content, and remember, I'm J-Rod at BATTLEBRAWLERproductions. I draw power in my own soul. Thank you again for watching.